Alright, so today I want to start with why. What I've found from just being in lots of different studios, different owners and different trainers, lots of different clients, is that studios that perform the best, they have like an overarching philosophy of what they're trying to achieve amongst the entire team. And it usually always comes back to what the clients want, and the clients always want results. And they want results, and results in the form of like improvement in physical health, fitness, strength, the things that they're basically hoping to get out of a group class. And that's the amazing part, is because they're coming to us because we're the experts to help them actually achieve that. They're going to put in their time, their money, and they want the best return on investment possible. And what's going to influence results the most is how we structure the classes, how long we hold people in positions. And if you look at your entire class plan, if you had the list of exercises that you've got, between every exercise there's a transition time. And depending on how effectively you cue that, transition time is usually about 45 seconds to 60 seconds before they actually start the next movement. And then if you look at all the exercises and then add up all the transition time, that's a lot of class time that are actually working out. And that's going to take away from the overall results of the class. If you have less exercises in total and you keep them in positions for longer with more layers, less transitions, that way you're automatically going to have more time in the class working out. So coming back to why, so let them understand that their main objective is to get results, and what they're doing right now is how they get them. In those moments when they are feeling that discomfort, it's good for them to know why they're there. So encouraging them and reward them for the effort they do, let them know that that discomfort is necessary in order to progress, and be like continuously reinforcing that. You want to make sure that everyone in the room is completely under your guidance the whole way. So if you can see someone is cruising, do whatever it takes, change their springs, give them heavier dumbbells, just let them know that they're there. We understand that they want the results and we know why they're there, and that everything I'm doing today is in line with that, and it's necessary. The majority of people are really grateful that you've actually taken the time to acknowledge them, and that if you can get them results, then they're going to be your biggest followers, and they're going to bring their friends and their family in, and within 3, 4, 5 weeks all your classes are full, purely based on those people, because they're promoting you the most. Layers and exercises. One thing that's really, really useful to help guide what progressions to choose when you're doing a lunge or something, is if you look at the exercise that you're doing, to establish what the target muscle group is first. So light springs, kicking the torso forward, pushing to stand up. In this movement pattern, when you bend the knee and you lean, you're loading up through the left side of your butt. So in this exercise, if blue is the beginner, yellow is intermediate, no springs is advanced. So that means that less support is harder. So the more of your own body weight you're exposed to, the harder it gets. That means that the more time you spend at the bottom, the harder it will be. So that every time you pick a progression, it should be holding that position for longer. So if you look at it, target muscle group, which position does that muscle work the hardest? What movements can I add on which will make them stay in that position for longer? And then automatically, if you think in that kind of selection process, the exercises and the positions you'll choose will align with the result that you want. You start off 50-50 work to rest ratio, up and down. And then let's just say you come to the bottom, add in a light scooter. And now it's probably 2/3 at the bottom and 1 at the top. And then at the end, you're going for just the light scooter, which is pretty much in that working position the entire time. So you've intentionally started off with a big full body movement, and then you've gone less rest and then no rest. You're never really offering regressions because the first level is so easy. It can be ridiculously easy, crazy easy. The main thing is that everyone can do it. And then it's just a progression that you offer from that point up. This is going to help your class flow so much, because you're not going to have to run around and try and fix things. They're going to feel oh, this is very achievable for me. They're still going to get a big benefit out of it, because they're going to end up doing that basic variation for about 2 to 3 minutes. So they're still going to get improvements in body awareness, their conditioning's can improve, things like that. The next level up is the intermediate class, and the next level up is advanced class. So if you are working in a beginner class on intermediate level springs and you've taken all the progressions, that's very much the intermediate level. With this kind of style, it's very easy to differentiate your beginner, intermediate and advanced classes. It's just purely based on intermediate springs, and then you've taken a progression or two, and then you're already there. So if you're in a beginner class on intermediate springs, I'll literally walk around and say, you're ready, let's go. You're basically doing everything you can right now. I can't make this class any harder because this is for beginners. So we want to really keep that kind of foundation super basic and simple. So we're talking exercise that they have prior learning of. Simple movement patterns like chest presses, squats, lunges. Couple reasons. Makes them feel really good because they can do it. They're going to get stronger faster because it's working more muscles. Less complex is going to be more effective for them. And as soon as they nail the basics, then you get on to the intermediate level. That's when we can start to add in stuff that requires more coordination and it's a bit more complex because they've got a basic level of body awareness that enable them to do it. On the balance of what we're trying to achieve, if we come back to why we're here, our goal is to get every single person in the room results. So if then that's the pure objective, taking away those kind of more complex movements out of the beginner classes completely enables you to tick that box straight away. And then as soon as they have that basic level conditioning and they've got the body awareness and they've got the understanding, then we have to actively promote them. And then this is going to be so beneficial for us in the long run because the main thing that happens is that all the beginner classes get too complex. So people get scared of intermediate. The owners see that the schedule in intermediate is light, so they take intermediates off the schedule. So more people are in the beginner classes that are too strong for beginners, and then they start to demand things that are harder. The classes get harder, new people come in and like, fuck that, it's way too hard for me, and they leave. It's like preventing people from moving up, and everyone's just like hanging out here for like 50, 70 classes, when they're already way too strong for that. So to make it really effective for the long term is to go beginner classes is going to be the most simple, basic, foundational movement patterns that you can think of. And then as soon as they can nail it, as soon as they've got the basic level conditioning, as soon as they know what the movements are, tap them on the shoulder, intermediate classes, straight up. And then it's exactly the same process. As soon as you got someone in an intermediate class who's like really dominating, who you're kind of giving extra dumbbells, extra springs to, advanced. And in each class, what you want to do is you want to be promoting people. Every time someone takes a progression, actively reward people for their effort. Let people know that, and I know all this stuff's probably very familiar, but it only works if we all do it. And the idea is that we get progression, so you get someone who comes in, the moment they move up, they create a space for someone new to come. And eventually you're going to get a really good diversity of beginner, intermediate and advanced classes on your own schedules. So that means as an instructor, you're going to get more time to express your own creativity because when you've got like a greater range of abilities to teach, you can start to teach different things more. Like if you've got only beginner classes on your schedule, you're going to get really bored in a couple of months. You're not going to have the space to be able to teach the things you want. So if you can get all the strong people out of your beginner class straight away and stick them into one class together, automatically that intermediate class is going to be different now because they're at a different level and they've got much more ability, so you can start to really play with it. You can be complex, you can have much more duration, push them harder, all those things like that. And then the advanced classes, then you just fuck people up. Seriously, yeah.
I was going to say happened many times.
Coming back to that results thing, let's just say in the beginner class, everyone walks in on this level and there's no regressions because the first level is so easy and it's just progression. Let's say you're in the intermediate class now. Now not everyone in your intermediate class may be super intermediate yet, so it doesn't mean you have to start off every exercise super hard. You can still have it really basic. But that means you can hold them in that position for longer if you have more layers on it. So they can still be there for 4 minutes or so. You get to make that decision. The main thing is here, is that every single person in the room has to be challenged. In order for them to progress from here to here, they need to do more than what they're doing now. So I take that on board as like a personal challenge to identify anyone in the room who is doing everything you've provided for them without really kind of getting out of the gears. Maybe there's cruising about 50-60%. They're maybe on like a yellow spring doing shoulder extensions and they could do it for 4 minutes or something. Like if you see that, all right, toes in the bar. All right, let's add in like a Sphinx push-up. Let's take off the spring, you know, whatever it is, but just find a way to make it harder for them, because if someone can come to your class and walk out feeling like it wasn't very effective, unfortunately, that's going to influence their perception of you as an instructor. They're going to think this person wasn't able to make it hard enough for me, so either I'm too strong for this or they're not very good. And it doesn't sound very nice, but that's the reality. And then the trainers that are able to push them to a different level, they are seen very well. You know, it's like if you look at anything to do with professional, everyone's got a coach, you know, like Olympic athletes have coaches, business people have coaches, everyone's got a coach because everyone wants to get that extra 5-10% performance. So if they're going to look at the entire schedule and go, who out of all these trainers can get that extra 5-10% performance out of me? And then they're going to start to go to those classes more. And our goal as a group is for them to not have to make that decision, because every single one of us can do that. It's simple things to look out for. One thing I love to do is after you give a visual demonstration at the front, everyone's moving and you stand at the side of the room, the next cue that you're going to select is based on exactly what you see. So then you just be super selective with the cues that you give. So that way you can increase your effectiveness. The less things you say, the more effective it is, because people have a certain bandwidth of attention, and the less you talk, the more they hear. So if you can only say what they need to hear, then they'll do that. It's like if you're looking at effectiveness and you're going to give an analogy, like if you're going to cut something, if you have like a really blunt knife, you say it's not that effective, but if you sharpen the knife, it becomes more effective at cutting. It's exactly the same with your cues. Over time, with all your experience, you've determined that certain words are more effective than others, so you say them more because you know they're going to get a better result. So one thing, it's like a really cool strategy, it's like a feedback loop. So every single thing that all your output, everything you do physically or everything you say, watch what the result of that was. And then take that on board and then see whether that was effective or not. A lot of people when they teach, they're very unaware of what the result was. And sometimes you can see people, they go through the motions. In order for us to all be very effective on this mission, we have to have that kind of critical analysis of our own performance and be like, what I just said, did that work or not? If it didn't work, okay, at least I know that. Like that awareness is the first step. If we're not aware, then we're going to be teaching exactly the same way a year from now. Why? You know, every single week we should be trying to aim to get a little bit better. As a strategy, like that is like really, really effective, and over time, that's going to bring all of us up really quickly. So we're starting off with why. Results. Clients want results. How we get results. Less exercises for longer, with more layers. Less exercises, less transition time, so they're working out for longer. Starting off with more basic movement variations. Hold them there for longer, so they build up strength faster. And then save the complexity for the people that have a better level of conditioning and awareness and understanding. There's no limit to it. Like if you continuously challenge someone outside their comfort zone every single week they come, when every trainer is on the same path, people get strong. They get really strong. If someone doesn't work out a lot, usually how they feel with intensity is they're trying to avoid it. Oh, it's uncomfortable, I don't want to do that. Outside the comfort zone, trying to avoid it. Our job is to educate them and let them know that this is actually a good thing. Like the reason we're here today is for you to feel like that, because that is the quickest way for you to get the results that you're interested in getting. So one thing I try and do to combat this situation is when we start off a movement pattern, just say we're doing the lunge, let's say we're 30 seconds in, everyone's moving, everyone's doing pretty well. Like, all right guys, so the purpose of us being here today is to be in positions for long enough that actually you start to feel uncomfortable. Target muscle groups in this one are your left glute. Now every time you bend your knee and tip forward, you're going to feel it as your body weight loads the glute up. You're going to get explain what they're going to feel. Like you're going to get to a stage where you're going to get like a burning sensation, your leg might start to shake. So if your leg's starting to shake, what that means is your muscle contractions are starting to fail. That's a really good thing. That's what you want. You know, and let them know that all these things that they kind of have like a negative association to are actually really good things, and that's the point of us being here. And if you can let them see the benefit, it changes the meaning of it, so it doesn't feel bad anymore. It's actually what they want. And you notice that any intermediate advanced client, they know that already. Like they actually seek that. They seek that burn. They want to be challenged. It's just that because they understand the benefit of it. But the new people, they haven't got that connection yet. So I think it's our responsibility in the class is to kind of let them know the benefits of every movement. Why are we doing this movement? You know, what is it working? How is it going to improve you? Particularly people that are weaker, they're going to benefit the most. So in some way, the beginner classes are actually the ones that need the most education, and they're going to get the quickest results because if they're unconditioned, their body's going to adapt pretty quickly to it. So I'd say it's an opportunity for us to kind of educate them more on why they're doing it, and if they're kind of disconnected and don't want to push themselves, I'd say that means they don't understand the benefits of doing it yet, and then we can work on that. People do hard things all the time. It's only if you have a reason. Everyone needs a reason to do something. No one will do something hard for no reason. You get to a point where the clients are like, they just buy into you, like 100%. It's just like whatever you say, I'm doing it. You know, I trust you so much. If you say I can do this in no springs, I'm doing it on no springs. That's the kind of level you want them to get to. They just trust your ability and your knowledge so much, and that you care for them enough, you understand who they are and what they're capable of. And that gives you that extra sense of certainty that you know why you're here. It's to help them get the results that they want, and you know that your class is going to do that. And all of a sudden, all those extra kind of unconscious kind of anxieties and fears about, oh, I hope they like it, just goes away because you're really connected to what we're doing.